right, everybody, we are about to get started in about 1 minute. I had to get all of my technology taken care of. Hope everybody is having a great day. I put everybody on mute so we won't get interrupted. I'm not for sure how many people is going to be. Hope everybody is having a great day. How many people is going to be joining us today? We won't get interrupted. I'm not for sure how. And so we'll be getting started in just a few minutes. All right, if you can say hi or wave or something so we know that you're here, and make a comment, or be sure to share and like the video so other people that you know that are engaged can see it also. And we're going to repost this later on the page, so you'll be able to see it for about, I'll say, another week. And for those who pre-registered, you'll get a copy of the transcript of the entire event today in your email. So you'll have it for your keeping. And also, when you signed up in the pre-registration, I added a planning timeline. So you have a nice timeline. It's a shorter version of what I give my clients. So it's really helpful, and it's a little bit more detailed than something that you would get online. But be sure that you like and share the video, and so we can get this out. So let's go ahead and get started. Today we are talking about jump-starting your wedding plans. I'm not for sure how many people on here today has even started. If you have not, then this is really, really great for you. And even if you have started, this will give you some pointers on exactly what you need to do, some things you might need to clean up, some other things that you might need to, review and maybe go back and check over. Okay. We used to do this event at the library, but unfortunately, we don't do it at the library anymore because of COVID. So we're starting to do these virtually. I've been doing these probably about 4 years now. So you may have talked to some people who've been to the ones that I used to do in the library. They were really nice because I got to meet people in person. So number one, the first thing you should do when getting engaged is to talk with your fiance, talk with your parents, talk with your fiance's parents, anybody who will contribute to the invitation list. You need to discuss with them and talk with them and decide on an estimate guest count. I know you probably think that's kind of preliminary, but if you don't have an estimate guest count, you don't have to know who, word for word, name for name, who's actually coming, but get in your mind exactly how many people you're thinking is going to show up. So when you go looking for venues, you book a venue that is big enough or not too big. I know I've ran into some clients who booked me after they had booked their venue, and sometimes the venue wasn't big enough. You can't squeeze 200 people in a venue that only fits 125. There's a lot of different venues in this area that they cap out at basically 150. Maybe 175. And so once you get to that point, you really can't get that many more people in there, and it's against the fire code. So you can't, and especially with this pandemic, really you need to kind of cut down on your list, because people want to be spread out more. People don't really want to be on top of each other. They do want to come to your wedding. People are ready to come to things, but they don't want to be all up on somebody in tights. So you want to spread them out. And with the spreading out, that means more tables, more chairs than you would normally have. You can't really squeeze 10 people at a table anymore. That's really uncomfortable for people, and they're very leery about that. I know here lately, I know there was some weddings that I had planned, and they was determined not to space people out, and people left early because they didn't want to be that close to people. They were very uncomfortable. So you have to keep that, you know, I know you're trying to keep the cost down on linens and chargers and chair rentals and the amount of space that you have, but you really have to take that in consideration nowadays of your guest list on. So you kind of got to pare it down to the people you really, really, really want to be there. And I have this nice little sheet that I put in all of my kits that you will get to a copy of, and it kind of helps you weed out people, and it really works. It looks very simplistic. It looks, you know, very, you know, whatever, but it really works. So you just feed people through people, you know, you have people that you have to invite, grandma, your, you know, your close aunts, some of your cousins, your best friends, all of that. But then you have like a handful of people who are like, I don't know if I need to invite my co-worker who I just met 6 months ago. We're cool, but do I really need to invite them? So, I mean, there's certain people that you can feed through this list, and it'll really knock some things down. And so once you have your estimate guest count, all of your vendors are going to ask you, especially your venue, how many guests do you have? So you really want to make sure you know, have at least an estimate when you start. So that's number one. All right. 2, book your venue. Once you have your venue booked, you have a solid wedding date. Before you have your venue booked, you don't have a solid wedding date. It's just kind of a date that you have. And, you know, it's kind of flexible right now because a lot of venues, especially for 2022, are already booked. So you really want to get on top of booking your venue. That is the very first thing you really want to get done when you get engaged, is to book your venue after you have your estimate guest count. Because if you really want to get married in 2022, and it's even starting to get real sketchy for 2023, which is wild to me, but you got to think about all the people who held off having their weddings until 2022, the newly engaged people who just got engaged over the holidays. Then you got people who had already planned on getting married in 2022. So you have 3 sets of weddings that you would usually only have one happening in 2022. So most venues, a lot of the great venues in this area are booked in, and in other areas are already booked for especially Saturdays. So you may want to look at other alternatives like Fridays and Sundays. And also don't leave, you know, you may want to even have a destination wedding. So don't leave that out, because it's not too far-fetched, and you can actually really get a very nice destination wedding, but you really have to pay attention to the travel rules and all of that. So there is some stipulations into that. The cheapest venues are community centers, dance studios, places owned by the Parks Department or a city. And they range between $300 to $2,000, maybe up to $3,000, depending on how nice the venue is and what they offer. You usually can bring in your own caterer and alcohol with a licensed bartender. Sunday through Thursday wedding rentals are usually cheaper. So you want to look into that if price is a concern, if you're trying to stay within a particular budget. There's a lot of these different community centers, dance studios, places owned by the Parks Department or the city. These less, you know, lower cost venues, they don't do a lot of advertising because they don't have the budget to do a lot of advertisements, but don't overlook them. You can find them. You may have to do a little bit of a digging. You may have to go on a few of these Facebook sites and ask around for them, but you can find them, and they are great. Some of them are really beautiful and a great value for the cost. And, you know, with you being able to bring in your own caterer, they, you know, that's great because you can pick anybody that you want. Some you can even bring in your own things. Now, I wouldn't do that in these current times. I would find a licensed caterer, but you can find a licensed caterer in all budgets. So you want to really evaluate that and check into that. Historical homes and gardens are mid-range. They range between $15,000 to $5,000, maybe $6,000. And you may be able to bring in your own caterer and your own alcohol, but you may be given a vendor list that you have to choose from. So some of these places you will have to pick from the list, and you may be able to buy out of the list. You may have to pay like a $500 fee to be able to pick someone that's not on the list. So you want to ask questions when you're booking these venues. Hotels and clubs are the most expensive, but they do include lots of extras you pay extra for at other venues. Because like at the historical homes and gardens, you have to rent tables, chairs, tents. They don't have any of that stuff. So those are extra things you're going to have to rent to have. So, you know, whereas you're paying extra for those things at the hotel, you have tables, chairs, and other items. They even have some decor pieces you can use at some of the hotels that you can use to add on to your centerpieces. So you want to, they also offer, you know, a lot of them offer white linens and white napkins, and some of them even offer, you know, chair covers or shibari chairs, depending on which place you go to. So you want to look at the value you're getting from the hotel. And when you're go to the hotels or the club, usually you're not paying for a room fee. You have a spending max. So all of the money that you give them, whether it's, you know, 8,000, 10,000, 20,000, 30,000, it all goes to food and your bar. And so, and maybe some extras like lighting or things of that sort that you're paying for, but it goes to things and not to a building. Whereas the other fees are going to the building and you don't get anything. You just get the rental of the building. So you want to weigh out your options, weigh out what your budget is, weigh out what you want to do, weigh out how much work you want, extra work you want to do, how much in stuff you want all inclusive. Hotels and clubs are very all inclusive type of places. So if you want something really all inclusive, really hands off, those are great places to go. But you do have to use their catering and their bar packages. You cannot bring in anything of your own. However, they have some fantastic caterers. And if you are doing a cultural type of wedding and you have particular menus and recipes that you want, you can give that recipe to the chef, and the chef will do a tasting for you, and they'll make that for you at your wedding. So options are open, it's not closed, but you know, it all depends on what you're looking for. In these times, you also want to review and have in writing your venue's rescheduling policy, and do the same for everything you book for your wedding. With this pandemic still happening, you want to make sure you know, in case you or your fiance get COVID, or mom gets COVID, grandma gets sick, you know, that we have another shutdown, or people just get kind of leery because things get riled up and you need to change the date. So you want to look into what the rescheduling policy is, how much money you will lose if you have to reschedule. If you can just completely reschedule, if you have to completely cancel, how much money do you lose? Will you get any money back? So you want to look into, ask the questions before you book, and then make sure the answers you get are in writing. So if they have a lot, because during this time, a lot of the venues are having a lot of turnover in the employees. So you want to make sure you have it in writing, either on the venue stationery or by email from the venue. So you can have that in case you have to show it to the next person who is over your event, if there is a next person. So you just want to make sure you have a paper trail this whole time so you can get what you're paying for the whole entire time. And that's for your venue and for your vendors also. Okay. Create a wedding website. Before, these were kind of, you know, kitschy. You have them because they were cute, they were nice, but really they're kind of a necessity right now, because you can, sometimes the changes are really fast. Like before, in early 2020, there was the shutdown. So we only could have so many people at events. You know, you may have already printed out your invitations, and it may be 4, 3, 2 weeks before your wedding, maybe even 1 week before your wedding, and you could only have 50 people there, or only 10 people there, or only 70 people there, only 100 people there, or some other things may have changed, and you have to space people out. There's a lot of changes that really can happen that you may not be able to have time to put in your invitation because they're already printed. and you don't want to spend, another $8 to $2,000 or $5,000 on however much you spend on those invitations. So you can just change it on your website. And it's very, very important that you get people used to looking at your website who are invited to your wedding. So what I tell people is, on your invitation, make sure you put your wedding website link on there on the RSVP. And so when they RSVP, they don't RSVP on the card, which saves you a stamp. They RSVP on your wedding website. This does a couple things. It puts them in an Excel sheet, so you can have their names and their addresses and phone numbers already in there. So you have one place where you can find all of their information when you need to contact them real fast. You automatically know who's coming, and it's already in a list. If they need to change their status, they can change their status, and it shows up immediately. If you need to change the status of your event or times or what have you, you can change it immediately and send out a mass message to everybody who has RSVP'd from your wedding website, and they all have it at one time. It makes it very convenient. And also, if you're having choices for your meals, they can put in their meal requests, whether they want chicken, beef, fish, and that's on there also, that you can immediately give to your caterers. So it's a great place to have the information you need in case changes need to happen. And it's on both sides, because they may need to say, I can't come because something happened to them, or they have to be somewhere else, or they just don't feel comfortable in coming. And don't feel bad about when people say they don't feel comfortable coming. It's not against you. It's because, these are some, shady times. So, you at some point in time in this whole pandemic, I'm sure you've felt uncomfortable going different places. So, you just be happy that they told you. I'm sure they would really wanted to be there, but just don't feel bad, or don't take it the wrong way when people say they don't feel comfortable coming, and if they change their status. Okay. And then, if you can also modify your seating, your chairs, your tables that way, because you may start out thinking you have 175 people coming, and at the end of the day, you may have to scale back your rental stuff, chairs, linens, whatever, to 100, because that may be how many people are coming. So a website is very important. It keeps everything in one place, and it keeps everybody informed. Number 4, buy your wedding dress. Yeah, 4, not 1. I know a lot of people are like, oh, I'm engaged, let me go get a dress. That's fine and dandy. And buying a dress is very exciting. There's some gorgeous dresses out there. I look at dresses all the time. I'm like, ooh, that's beautiful. I've been married, I'm not going to even say how long I've been married, for quite some time. And but I love going to the dress shops and custom dress shops with my brides, because I live vicariously through them, because they look so beautiful in the dresses. I just like seeing them try on different things. And if there's a dress that I had been eyeing in a shop that I've seen, I'm like, try on this dress for me. And so, I love that. They're so gorgeous. They're beautiful. They're of different price ranges, whether you buy one right off the rack, or whether you get one that has to come in and take some months to get in, or whether you get one custom made. You have many options, or you can buy one and have it altered. You can have one, use your parents' dress and have it altered if they allow you to alter it. A grandparents' dress, you can have pieces of dresses put together. There's many things you can do with your wedding dress. You don't just have to go out and just buy one that you see. There's many options. You can get what you want. And I would, take the time out to review your options, look at different things, see what you like out there, and then decide. But remember, if you do buy one from the store, it takes 4 to 8 months for your wedding dress to come in after you order, because when you order your dress, they measure you in the store, and the dress company, the dress designer, makes the dress that fits your body. So that's why it's important that when you go and order your dress, that you stay close to the size that you are, because you don't want to get this dress made and then it comes in and then you have to pay, another $500 in alterations because you got smaller, or, you gain some weight. And sometimes happens, I know a lot of my brides, the nerves gets to them and they lose weight. But I've had some who got pregnant while they were planning their wedding. And so again, we had to figure out how to take the dress out, and it always worked out. We've had some really, really great dress alterations people who we work with, and they have performed miracles. I mean, they've had to pretty much remake a whole top of a dress for a bride of mine who was showing quite a bit, that she just popped out there all of a sudden. And it was like 2 weeks before the wedding. And she had a fitted dress, but at the end of the day, that thing looked the bomb. It was beautiful. She looked beautiful, and it fit her very well. So you just want to make sure that you give yourself enough time in case things happen. And what about online? I put on here, depending on what company that you buy your dress from online, it can take 3 weeks, 2 weeks, 4 months, 8 months. It's kind of up in the air, but you want to really be careful about buying your wedding dress online. You want to make sure you buy it from a reputable company. And if you are buying your dress online, I would really, really, really recommend that you do it early. The earlier, the better, in case there is a problem. Because when there is a problem, there's a big problem. So make sure you order it online. You may not be able to return it, or there may be some issues in returning it. So make sure you read the return policies on your online order if you order it online. But make sure you give yourself plenty of time in case there's a problem. And do not be upset if you are 2 or 3 sizes bigger in your wedding dress than in everyday clothing, because they do cut these in European sizes, which is much smaller than us. So, and it doesn't have a lot of curves in it. So you want to take that into consideration when you're looking, when people tell you the size that you need to order. Order the size that your bridal consultant at the shop, the dressmaker, whoever tells you need to order, so you won't have yourself in a pinch. I don't want anybody having to starve themselves for a month before the wedding because the dress came in and it doesn't zip up, so, or button up or any of that, so, and that has happened, and we made it happen, but man, it is rough. So you don't want to put yourself in that situation. And you want to leave enough time for alterations and your bridal shoots, because a bridal shoot is beautiful. You only get these bridal shoots once. You spend all this money on this dress, or maybe you didn't spend all this money on this dress, but you look fabulous. So you want to make sure you take the time to get the bridal shoots done so you can have those pictures for your memories. And make sure you have all of these things done before 4 to 6 weeks before your wedding. So, you have that time so you can have your dress ironed and pressed and prepped for your wedding day. Okay, number 5, hire the best photographer you can afford and a videographer. Yes, and a videographer. When the party is all over, all you have left to share with your loved ones is your pictures. Bad pictures make bad memories for a lifetime and cannot be retaken. You cannot retake your wedding pictures, okay? Once it's done, it's done. You can have you could have a fabulous wedding and then your pictures be just horrible. And then, then what you got? You can't even tell it was fabulous because your pictures were so bad. And I've seen examples of that. So if there's any place you want to cut costs, photography is not it. So make sure you take the time out to find a photographer you love their pictures. Make sure the pictures that they show are their pictures, that you see their references, that you've checked them out, and your pictures are going to be fire, okay? Because you want your pictures to be gorgeous, whether you spent a lot of money on your wedding or you didn't spend a lot. It does not matter. It's your wedding day, and you want to make sure your pictures are nice, because that's all you have at the end of the day. Once it's over, and you can't redo it. So you want to make sure it's done right the first time. And then hire a videographer for at least the ceremony. I do tell people to hire a videographer for the ceremony and for like a run through of the reception. So they do the ceremony and then they go to the reception when it's finished, and they do like a shoot of all the reception pieces, the cake, the linens, all the details that you wouldn't necessarily be able to pay attention to because you was too busy enjoying your wedding like you were supposed to. So, and then you can see all of that in your videos and take a little span view of it all. And, you know, if you need to cut costs. However, if you can hire a videographer to be there to take some candid shots, be there for the bouquet toss, for the speeches and all that, and then at the end of the day, make a copulation video, that would be fantastic too. But you do need both, and you need to hire a videographer, at least the ceremony, because you're not going to remember your ceremony. I don't care, you know, what people say to you, you won't remember. Once you get to the reception, you're gonna be like, what did I commit to? I said I'm gonna do what? And then you don't remember. You have no idea. You don't see the people in the crowd. You don't see what was going on. If you're coming in, you miss half the wedding because you're coming in the middle of it all, depending on how you want your ceremony to go. So you may miss most of the beginning of your wedding because you are getting married. And so you want to be able to see that, hear the singers, see your mom walk down the aisle, and your parents walk, your friends, your family, your bridesmaids, your groomsmen, all of that. And so you just want to make sure you have something so you can see in the future. It's about the memory. Number 6, you've purchased your wedding gown. Now pick your bridesmaid dresses. I know, once you do your bridesmaids and they get all excited, they're going to try to pressure you real fast to try to go look for bridesmaids dresses. My tip is, once you pick out your wedding dress, you, yourself, and maybe your best friend or maybe your mom, depending on who is more about your style, whether it be your friend or your mom, you need to take one person or go by yourself to the place where you were looking at bridesmaids dresses and go find a couple bridesmaids dresses that you personally like, and then make your bridesmaids appointments. And then when they get to the appointment, you only show them the dresses that you like. You say, okay, look, these are the dresses that I like. Try on these dresses and pick what dress that you want to wear, whether you decide to have all of them wear the same dress, or they can pick from a group of dresses or what have you. Whatever you choose, or whether it's not dresses at all. I mean, whatever you choose, have them, you need to pick out what you like first and then bring them and show them what selection they have to pick from. You don't want to go there with all of them and then have everybody's opinion telling you what you need to have at your wedding. It's your wedding and you need to have what you want at your wedding, because if it was their wedding, they're going to tell you what to wear and they may not even give you a choice. So, yeah, and you don't want the arguing. You don't want to get upset. I know a lot of times when I have clients who just decide, oh, I'm just going to bring all of them anyway, and we're just going to, it'll be fine. We all get along. We all like the same thing. No, it never does that. They always wind up leaving upset. Sometimes they don't even pick out a dress. They're just so bothered. Sometimes they drop a bridesmaid because it's a whole confrontation. So you want to avoid all of that. There's so much drama. So, and have them come pick from your selection, and then that'll be the best situation for everybody. And then give them enough time to be able to pay on the dress, and because people in your bridal party are of different income statuses most of the time, and so especially if their other half, their partner, is in the wedding too, or if you have their child in the wedding too. So that could possibly be 3 outfits that they may have to purchase for your wedding or rent for your wedding. So you want to look at that and make sure you be mindful of what you're asking people to buy. Okay. And yes, they do buy their own or rent their own outfits, attire. Sometimes you gift them the jewelry. Sometimes you gift them, the gift of having a makeup and hairstylist there to do everybody's makeup and hair, or just makeup only. But, they do purchase their own attire. Number 7, let your fiance pick out their own tuxedo or suit or dress, depending on who you are marrying. You don't want to be all up in your fiance's business as far as what they're wearing. Yeah, you want them to look a certain way. They've seen your idea board, they've seen your chart, they've seen your Pinterest board. You may have shared a ton of things. Yeah, you've heard you talk. They know what you like, they know what you're looking for. But you can share ideas of what you want, even suggest with pictures, but let them make the final decision. Remember, they are wearing it and they are getting married too. And it's not just your wedding, it's their wedding also. So they need to be able to have that moment, to be able to, like, you have that big moment where you go and find your outfit. They need to have that big moment where they find theirs too. And they get to pick out the outfitting for their bridal party members. They know, you married them. Hopefully they got some style. You can lead them in the right direction. If it's, if it's a groom, a lot of these shops, especially the ones that I refer, they have great staff that really guide them in the right direction and lead them and will not leave you astray. They're not going to come out looking crazy, I promise you. And if you share ideas and pictures, they have something to go on. But let them have their moment. Let them have their moment with their friends and enjoy that time picking out their outfits. They'll really appreciate it, and they'll have the same kind of moment you had when you was picking out your outfits too. All right, catering. A lot of times people want to cut costs in catering because catering, especially in this area, can be really expensive. And but a simple meal is always better than just a whole group of appetizers. I know people are like, oh, I'll just have appetizers to save money. Well, when you have appetizers, if you have 6 different appetizers, which 6 to 7 different appetizers, which you would probably need to have, that is the 6 to 7 different prices. So if one appetizer is $7 per person, then you have another appetizer that's $8 per person. And then you have another appetizer that's $15 per person. And then you have another appetizer that's, $9 per person. You got to add all that up per person. You could be up to $70 per person quickly, very quickly, and you didn't save any money at all. So appetizers are not cheaper than a simple meal. And a lot of your catering companies, they have sample meal plans, and you can modify the food items that are in the meal plan, but pick a plan or keep it very simple and don't give your guests any choice. You're giving them a free meal when they come to your house. I tell people, when they come to your house, or if you invite your friends to your house, you don't give them, say, oh, what do you want to have to eat at my house, when you're inviting them over for dinner. When they come, they're happy to come over to your house. They're happy that you invited them for dinner, and they'll eat whatever you're serving for dinner, and they're fine with it. Same with your wedding. If you pick chicken, 2 vegetables, a starch, a salad, a bread, that's perfectly fine. Or if you have a pasta meal, that's perfectly fine. You don't have to give people a choice between beef, chicken, or fish, and have steak for people and all. You don't have to do all that. If you want to do all that, that's fantastic. If you want to have several different courses, that's fantastic. If you're a foodie and need all of those choices, that is fantastic. But if you're on a budget, a simple meal is better than appetizers any day. And so, just keep that mindful that people are appreciative of the meal that you give them. And just make sure the meal that you give them tastes good. Even a simple meal can be delicious. So just make sure you do a sample, a tasting with the person, the company that you pick, and make sure that you enjoy what it is that you're serving everybody else, and everybody else is going to enjoy it also. All right, number 8. It's been a hot topic around. A lot of people are trying to get away from hiring a DJ. And they got apps, they got programs, they got machines, they got all of these things. But you got to realize that your DJ or your band is the one keeping your whole reception together. If you have a bad DJ or a bad band, your reception is a flop and it's going to end really fast. So if you want a lot of dancing, a lot of partying, a good time, you have to hire a really good DJ who can play music towards the crowd. They can read the crowd, they can play music the crowd wants to hear. You follow the directions that they give you and your prep time, where they ask you to give them a playlist so they can have a whole idea of what it is that you like. You don't have to give them every single song that they're going to play all night. However, you do need to give them the key songs, your entrance song, the song you want to do when you're doing your first dance, your parent dance songs, all of those songs. You need to give them those songs. But far as the party music songs, they just need to have a general idea on the style of music you and your crowd will want to hear. And then at your reception, people are going to go up to the DJ or the band and request things. Whether or not they play it or not, it's up to you. The DJ in your consultation will ask you whether or not you want them to go with request. And if so, then they will. So you definitely need to have a DJ, because people, I have experience where a client had they just refused to have a DJ. They would say, oh, I have a friend that's going to run this app for me. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. Well, it was not fine. There was a lapse in music. They ran out of songs, and then people started to leave early. So you got to realize, when you hire a friend to do the music, they feel like they are a guest at your wedding. So they are drinking too. So as the night goes, they are getting drunker as they are DJing. And then sometimes they forget that they're DJing. Truth of the matter. And so you don't want that on your hands. You don't want that going on. You want to make sure your party is hot, it's great, everybody's having a good time, he's reading the crowd, people are enjoying themselves. You spend all this money on this event to have a celebration. So make sure your band or your DJ is on point. They come in all different price points. And so just look around, ask around, but make sure you hire a professional who has done this a few times, And if you can hire a really great DJ, it will be well worth your money. I'm telling you, it's a fantastic DJ. Is the best thing you could ever have for your reception. Number 9, what you do not need and money-saving ideas your guests will not notice. Well, I wouldn't say you don't need it, but there's money-saving ideas your guests won't notice. There's a lot of these newfangled bars, candy bar, dessert bar, coffee bar, cigar bar. There's lots of different add-ons you can have at weddings, dancers, other styles of entertainment. Also, although, I am a proponent on, what you see first is what you expect, but money saving cost is invitations. If you know how to work your computer really well and work the design program really well, you can buy or order a box wedding invitation kit, which will save you hundreds of dollars, and print it yourself. And the truth of the matter is, those invitations in those boxes, they are real invitations that you can order and have printed by companies. So nobody's going to know that you printed up your own invitations if you buy one of those invitation box kits and follow the directions and send out those. So you can really save a lot of money with that. However, if you want to make a good, a big impression and have some fancy ones, all of that, then go ahead. That's great. I'm a proponent on, what you see first is what people expect, but you can have very, very classy invitations that you do yourself. And that's a great way to save money that guests will not notice, because once they see it and they have it, they don't really do anything much with it after that. They don't bring it to the wedding. They don't do anything with it. So they may save it, your family will save it for a keepsake, but that's about it. And then, so, just a lot of the different extra things like wedding favors. Wedding favors, really honestly are a waste of money. We pick so many wedding favors up off tables and throw them away, or, off the floor. Especially if they're not edible favors like, candy or dessert or whatever. People don't take them. They're just sitting there. And so you spend all this, money, that's a couple $100 you spend on wedding favors that nobody took. So I would just use that money for wedding favors on something else, like a photo booth or something. We used to say photo booths were optional, but honestly, photo booths are great entertainment. It's very great for the cocktail hour when you're taking your pictures, your guests have something to do. It's really fun. You get candid shots. So I would, I would, if you can afford to get one, I would suggest that you get one. And they have different kinds of different price points. But, a lot of these other extra things, like I said, the dessert bar, a lot of the dessert goes in the trash, okay? Especially now, especially if it's not individually wrapped. People don't like to eat things that are on buffets that people have touched or possibly could have touched and breathed on. So if you do something like that, make sure it's individually wrapped and, people are not able to touch it, like walk by and just keep touching things. So just be mindful of those different things. Number 10, why hire a professional wedding planner or a month of coordinator? Well, I'm gonna explain all the different things that each one of them do. A full service planner plans, manages, designs, and organizes your entire wedding and coordinates your wedding day and wedding rehearsal. They may or may not decorate, but that is for an additional fee. And a full service planner is going to cost you between $2,000 to $10,000, and the average in this area is between $3,500 to $6,000. And this is start to finish planning. They help you do everything. So if you hire a full service planner, you shouldn't have to be Googling anything. You shouldn't have to be trying to find stuff. You just call them up or text them or email them, and they have it there waiting for you and give you the answers. You don't have to schedule your own meetings unless you want to. They give you all of your vendor referrals and everything. So you don't have to stress about anything. They just pretty much hand the wedding planning over, on a platter and make it very, very simple and stress-free. So all you're doing is picking what you like and what you don't like. And that's what a full service planner does. And then manages your contracts, manages your budget, make sure your budget stays on point unless okay, if you pick this, you may go over budget. Here's an alternative and things of that sort. So this is a professional that knows the industry really well and can guide you and make sure you stay on point, on budget, get the design and desires that you want, and this wedding is not taking over your entire life, because wedding planning really is like a second job. So if you're planning it yourself, it's like it's eventually going to take over. And that's just the nature of the beast. And event designer and decorator, they design and decorate only. They do not do planning or vendor referrals. The price is based on the wedding design you decided on, which is between $3,000, $10,000 plus, depending on what designs. It could be $100,000. It all depends on how flashy you want your wedding to be. So your event designer is your decorator, and that's what they do. They decorate. They decorate your ceremony. They decorate your reception. They decorate. They can provide any and everything for your wedding design. The venue event planner. These are the people who work at your venue. I know a lot of people say, I have a wedding planner, and they think it's their venue event planner, but no. How a lot of these event planners, venue event planners are very efficient. They give you a plan. They give you vendor referrals that they have. They may even give you a timeline. They may ask you a whole bunch of questions. They may help you a lot, but their only main concern is what's happening in their venue. They're concerned about the caterers that are there. They're concerned about the setup. They're concerned about you and your guests following the rules. They're concerned about what's happening in the building. So whether your ceremony starts on time, they're not there to line up the people for you. They're not there to find grandma or find the bride, the flower girl basket if she lays it down somewhere. They're not there to gather people, push people down the aisle. They're not there to tell people it's time to take pictures. They're not there to do any of that. So that's what a coordinator does. The day of or month of coordinator will get with you either the month of or a week before, depending on what you paid for, and they facilitate and direct your wedding rehearsal and wedding day, and does light setup. So light setup meaning they'll come put the decoration that you made or was dropped off on the table. They may put linens on the table. They're not going to come in there and shuffle the tables around, take the tables out of the storage area, set it up, all of that. They're not going to do all that, but the facility will set up the tables, and they'll come in there and they lay out your decorations. They're not hanging a bunch of pipe drape. They may do a backdrop or two, for your cake or something of that, if that's something that they agree to do for you that you've made in advance. But that's what light setup is, literally light setup. They're not making anything or creating anything. They're just setting up the items that you give them for the decorations. So you may have made everything, and then you need somebody to put it all out, and that's what they'll do. And then they direct your rehearsal, because without a day of coordinator, so many people don't show up to the rehearsal and they have no idea how the rehearsal is supposed to go, where people are supposed to stand, how you're supposed to walk down the aisle, who's supposed to go first, all of these things. And so the coordinator does that. And then they direct the whole wedding day the next day. So they're there for however many hours you paid them to be there. And they organize and make sure all of your vendors are set up correctly and doing the things that they're supposed to do. And then they make sure the wedding, party is lined up, and they do their best to be sure that the wedding starts on time. Sometimes there's some issues with like the makeup artist or the hairstylist, or maybe a bridal attendant or a wedding party attendant who was late. But they work with that and make sure it all flows, and then make sure your reception flows, and make sure you're there for all of your key photo points, your cake, your bouquet toss, and all of these things are there. And that's what a coordinator does. And without that, your wedding is up in an uproar. So you even if you don't hire a full-on planner, you definitely need a month of or day of coordinator. And then partial planning and coordinator is basically a full service planner and a day of coordinator, but you've already started planning most of your wedding, but you got sick of it. You may have had a promotion in your job, you may start at school got hard, too much work, your kids are driving you crazy, or anything, life happens. And then you're like, I am sick of this planning. So then you hire somebody for partial planning. They help you finish out your planning, and then they're there to coordinate. And the people who hire a full service planner, they're hiring a planner and a coordinator. So make sure when you do these things, you check out people's contracts, see what they're offering, because some people change it up a little bit. So make sure you read all of the details. And then DIY clients can pay an experienced planner for hourly advice when in a pinch or getting started. So say, for instance, you want to plan your own wedding, but you have some questions because you've never done it before. Well, you can pay a planner an hourly rate for some advice and help you get started. And then, maybe hire them later on for the day of coordinating. And then, so you planned your wedding, you was on the right track. They may give you a nice little plan that you can work out, and it was great for you. You had a good time, and then they're there to wrap things up for you with the coordination. So this is an explanation of all of the details for wedding planners and coordinator. I know it's confusing, so I just wanted to lay that out so everybody knows what we do, what each type of planner does, because it's not really explained anywhere. And it's, some people do a little bit of all of it. So it all depends on who you're talking to. So, but the key component to planning a wedding in these days and times is make sure you read your contracts, make sure everything that you say and do and any changes that you make are in writing, preferably by email, by text message that you can save, so you can have that for a future reference. Make sure people's change of schedule plans. So in case you need to change your date or time, how much money you're going to lose, if you're going to lose any, or if they even will reschedule with you. So you need to really know that in advance before you book your venue, any of your vendors, your planner, anybody. And that's very, very important, because things just are changing so fast. So you just want to make sure you're not losing out on a lot of money. And that's really what happened during the pandemic. People had to just stop their planning. And a lot of people, some of the venues did not give people their money back that they paid for. Some of them allowed them to change to a different date. And sometimes it was like a year or maybe a year and a half later, and they kept those days. But you just want to make sure that you hold on to all the money that you allocate to your wedding, and you get the most out of your wedding budgets that you paid for, and you get everything it is that you want, because it's your wedding day. You want to enjoy it, and you want to have a good time, and you want your family and friends to enjoy it, but you also want to make sure you get everything that you paid for. All right. Well, I want to thank you guys for joining me. And if you pre-registered for this event, you will get a copy of this transcript in your email. And I hope to see you guys at our next Dillard's event, because I'm the one who does the events at Dillard's. And we're possibly doing another bridal type of event in February. I'll keep you posted on what's going on with that. And make sure you like and share this post and this live, and I'll see you guys later. And definitely, if you need a wedding planner or a coordinator, feel free to contact me. I'll let you know if we have your date open, okay? Thanks, everyone. Bye.